Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Adobe. It is time for another update, and on this chart we have been focusing on this wave 4 correction that is expected to form a reversal from our area of support between the $314 all the way down to the $126 level. Now, within this correction we have been tracking an A, B, C pattern to unfold, and as long as we hold the 50% retracement, we can still look with strong probabilities for continuation to higher prices within a wave 5. Now, keep in mind, below the 50% retracement, the reliability and the integrity of this chart structure would come into very heavy consideration, where a more substantial top might already be in place. Now, at this point, this is not an issue. We are still looking for everything as expected here in this ABC correction that we have been tracking, and we will go in the smaller time frame in a moment, but I wanted to briefly mention our large time frame here to briefly go through this. So here we have basically what could be considered a series of 1-2 setups, and there is even more than one ways we could be tracking this entire structure, this entire count, but I don't really believe this should be a focus. Even here I have just drawn 1-2 setups. I'm not really focused on the actual structure within that area, and I'm focused more on the large time frame, yeah, where we are tracking what could work out very well as an internal impulse within this area, and that is going to be our focus as long as we aren't affected by the large time frame structures. Yeah, we will still be looking for continuation to higher prices, and especially right now within this internal wave 3 to the upside, we are not affected in any capacity by the previous structure, especially what has happened here in the very beginning, which is a bit of a choppy mess, yeah, and we cannot really deny that. But anyway, our focus remains here, where we are watching this internal wave 3 to the upside. We have here a 1-2 set up very nicely. We are looking for a wave 3 to be unfolding. We are looking at decent proportions for a wave 2 and a wave 4 correction. Now, sure, the wave 4 has already far exceeded what has happened in terms of time frame for the wave 2, but this isn't necessarily uncommon. It still looks appropriate for what is going on within this structure, in my opinion, and I believe within this structure the focus should stay on this idea of an impulse. Now, internally within this wave 4, we have been tracking this correction for quite a while. Nothing has really changed, and it's certainly more of a long-term play, because we have done our first video on this chart probably in June. We were still very much within this internal movement to the downside. We were looking still for continuation lower, and it has already taken very long to build every single movement within this area. So I wouldn't expect this to change. I would still see this a play that could take years to actually unfold and even take us to new all-time highs, but I am personally not in a rush. I'm looking for the high quality structures, and I believe this could be considered one of them. Now, in the previous videos, we have been highlighting for this wave 4 correction, even though the area of support was starting at the $314, that our accumulation area, at least from my consideration, my perspective, was only going to start here around the $260 level. Yeah, 260 down to this swing low, let's say, if you want to be more restrictive, the $255 level. Now, clearly, we have reached it. We can consider the accumulation area to have started, and I'm not looking for a bottom to form instantly from these levels. That was more of a large time frame perspective view, where we had a substantial swing low before extending to even higher highs, where a more substantial bottom could have formed. And certainly within this area we have seen some slowdown as we were tracking internally within this structure. Yeah, quite a strong potential impulse in this area, and it did provide the slowdown. It did provide the reaction to higher prices, at least internally. Now, might not be long-lived, but it is giving the market opportunity to decrease the momentum and to look internally for higher prices. Now, here we have been tracking this idea of an ABC structure, and within this wave C, we have even been looking for an impulse that could have taken place. And this is still the case. I'm still looking for this to unfold as an impulse. We have here a wave 1 down, a wave 2 up, third wave down, fourth wave up, and the fifth wave that will be unfolding within this area at the moment. Now, the thing is, based on how large this wave 5 seems to actually be forming as, we might be looking at something potentially even more bearish that could allow this to be an extension of this wave 3. We wouldn't have necessarily had all this data available before forming at least the wave 1 to the downside in this area, but the way I see it now, we might be looking at an impulse to be forming here, where this could be a wave 1 down, a wave 2 up, a wave 3 to the downside, a wave 4 that could still follow, and the fifth wave, and this would be able to even be part of this wave 3 to the downside. But at the same time, we could be forming a bottom sooner than we may realize, because this fifth wave in yellow could even exceed the length of the wave 3 itself and form a more substantial bottom, and we will be looking for the potential reversal once we have a full count within this area. Now, of course, for a strong signal that a more substantial bottom would be in place, we will have to break above relevant resistance levels, even once this idea of a 5-wave pattern to the downside would be already full, because again, extensions are possible. I will need to see a break above the relevant levels of resistance for such an interpretation. And even then, could be that this would be part of this wave 3, but it would be able to still form an even larger impulse. So there is risk, definitely, there is always risk, but that is why we are always highlighting the levels we are looking for higher prices against, because below the 50% retracement is where the risk increases significantly, because this pattern, this structure to the upside would no longer be reliable. Now, here within this structure in the previous video, we have been looking at a diagonal structure primarily. And this has been our focus. It doesn't need to be building more than that. It is possibly a fifth wave, and at the moment it actually seems to be following along very, very nicely. But before we move here into the smaller time frame, I wanted to briefly mention our channel newsletter. You can find the link for sign up in the description. It is completely free, and you will get access to our monthly top picks, where we will identify for you those strong structures that can provide you the opportunity to look for positions with the knowledge of where you are looking for invalidation. Now, again, it is completely free, but if you enjoy the content and you want to support us, you can check out our channel membership. The link for that is in the description as well, or you can click the join button and you will get access to a couple of cool perks, including additional content. Now, back to the chart. Here within this structure, we have been focusing primarily on this wave C to the downside in the previous video. And we were looking even for a potential impulse to form within this area, where we had the levels of resistance up to around the $320, yeah? That was our 50% retracement, the level that would have told us, okay, this is not going to form an impulse to the downside in this internal wave 3, and we should be looking for something potentially slightly more bullish, at least in terms of how low we could be expecting to go within this wave C. Now, clearly, we have barely touched the area of resistance and already pushed to the downside in this fifth wave, and I believe this count actually followed along very, very nicely, and we will continue to track this exact idea. Now, for this, I would need to adjust the area of resistance that we would currently be considering for an extension to even lower prices, and I would be looking even for an additional 1-2 setup within this area potentially, where a third wave could have formed the bottom. We could be looking for the wave 4 and the fifth wave to the downside. Now, for this, I would have to assume that this internal wave 5 would already have a bottom in place, which, frankly, I cannot guarantee. I will still allow it to extend to lower prices, but at the same time, I will be tracking an extension to higher prices within this larger wave 4, because the area of resistance would only start at the $272.8. Currently, this wave 5 to the downside that we have within this area seems very complete. I really don't need any additional extensions lower, because yeah, we can actually even have a look here within the smaller time frame. I have basically a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Do I need extensions lower? Clearly not. I have a full count. I'm looking already for the wave 4 to be starting, but even though we might have here within a very small time frame an initial 5-wave move to the upside, we might be looking at a failure simply due to how low we have already pushed, yeah? I believe we might still be within an area of support we would be tracking for such an expectation, but if we haven't broken it, it won't be long that I would expect, yeah? We have actually pushed into the last level of support just now, and we have created a tiny reaction to the upside, so if it holds, we are looking to reach ideally at least the $272.8. And if we break once more below the last level of support, or let's say below the current swing low that we have in this candle that just opened today at the $254.3, we would be looking very likely for this internal wave 5 to extend before looking for a reversal to higher prices. Now, what other levels could we be looking for? So I am looking for the break above the 50% retracement for a stronger signal that a more substantial bottom would be in place. But for the signal that this wave C to the downside would likely be complete, that we wouldn't be looking for extensions lower, at least not within the idea of an impulse. Might still work out within the idea of a diagonal, but what I would rather focus on than the idea of a diagonal is the possibility of a more substantial bottom being in place entirely within this wave 3 in yellow. Because if you remember, in the previous video I have provided you the ideal target for this wave 3 in yellow, and we have now achieved that. It was the 138.2% extension of the wave 1 around the $263 level. That is achieved, we no longer need to extend to lower prices to be able to reliably track a correction here in a wave 4, so I will be watching the levels up to the 61.8% retracement at the $319, $320 level for continuation to lower prices against. If we manage to break above this level of resistance, it would be for me a quite strong signal that a more substantial bottom would already be in place and that we would be able to look for the reversal to the upside. Now, for this structure, this is pretty much it within this larger time frame. I only want to mention within this smaller time frame structure, which seems to be creating a nice reaction to the upside already, that we aren't looking for a large correction necessarily within this wave 4. Please consider how tiny this wave 2 correction has been. Not very substantial, so we could very well be looking for a wave 4 to top at any point now, and I am only really expecting to build an A, B, C pattern within this area. Now, sure, something more bullish may be going on, but at this point there is no sign of even this wave C managing to extend to higher prices, because again, this fifth wave is still able to extend to lower prices. We might in fact be looking for a fifth wave that would not yet be in place for this wave 5. So we get here a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Now, we might be looking for an extension of the fifth wave within this area, and we get here possibly something like an A, B, C pattern. I wouldn't look too much into it. We have the level of support that allows us to look for continuation to higher prices. And right now, I am still focusing from a larger time frame perspective on continuation to lower prices. Yes, this structure, this count, does not look complete as of yet. And while I'm not one to say that a bottom couldn't form at any point now, the evidence would prefer extensions to lower prices still. So another structural support level I would watch out for. So we currently are a structural support, but the next one, the next major one, would be here at the $206 area. And for now, these are the levels. This is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.